Hi, and welcome to the next session into SAC for a commonly posed question by clients on why is the end-to-end forecast process so confusing. So what I'd like to do is simplify the end-to-end process with a live demonstration in taking you through the different elements from a model that has been created with one file loaded for actuals. So let's go ahead and move forward with that process, and I can show you aligned on how this goes in with terms called like seeding and other elements that people might use. So let's go ahead and get there. So just give me a moment. So here, right now is my SAP Cloud tenant, right? I am logged in. I'm using the trial, which you can do yourself. So what I'd like you to show you here is what we can do. So first things first, is I want to say, okay, what do I have? I know I have a model called demonstration. Perfect. So let me go here, demonstration. Now, share experience, so I'm going to say not now. We can go ahead and move that. I clicked the wrong button there. So I don't want to have this visible at the moment. So to get rid of this, there's 3 lines here, the navigation bar. Now I have more landscape. So I see, okay, what data do I have? This is your data foundation, right? Here, you can either view or not view, right? Viewing is helpful because you can kind of see. This is all loaded data, so it's published. If I wanted to select this, and there was changes made, I could see those, right? And that's into private versions, which we can go into at a later time. So here's where I want to see what's going on and what data do I have. So here I have actuals. Okay, there's actuals data that I had loaded before. And here it's showing me I don't have data anywhere else. Okay, so if I really want to see what do I have, a couple different ways I can do this. I can first, what I typically do is I duplicate the tab, right? So therefore I'm going to get the same exact thing. Then once I do that, now what I'm going to do is say I'm going to create a story to show me exactly what I have. So when designing, you want to see exactly what data is in the system that you're working with. What's your goal once you have it? And then to achieve that, you can kind of get where you're going. So let's go ahead and get that story. So I'm going to click on story. I myself like responsive. Get rid of this pane. So it's going to come here. Now you see it comes with an asset outline. That's fine. Now there's 2 ways to do this. I insert tables typically by using this, where it says table, or you can drag and drop a table from here, right? Now, saying, okay, let's find your model, because there can be many that are there. In this scenario, there's just one, so I'm going to select my model. Now, it's going to come off and just locate anything it can find. Okay, so I'm going to click the X to get this to hide. Now, to get this to come back, all I need to select is this. So just, if you click X, it's not like it's going away forever. I'm going to move this up here. Perfect. And so what I'm going to see is, okay, in my reporting element, right? So first things first, you see that this asterisk is here? Why is that here? So I'm going to click refresh. It's still here, which means there was a change somewhere. So from previous activity, and I want to revert. So revert data is going to take it to prior to any changes being made. So I'll go ahead and do that. And you can see that that data action was a percentage increase functionality I'd worked on before. But now here is my base level number. But what I want to see is, okay, let me add date into the column to really extend out how far out this really is. So let me scroll down here. So I have date. Perfect. I'm going to go ahead and expand this. Okay, so I have data in 2025. Okay, but how far? Okay, up until Q4. Now, if I were a person that does not like to see all of this hierarchy notion, I can right click on the date field and select hierarchy, and I can say, you know what, I just want to see leaves, right? So in doing so, now I just see January, and I scroll across, and I see it's to December. Okay, so now I know what my numbers are from a very high level. So I'm going to expand net income. But now, curiosity always also tells me what's also in my data. So now there's a few dimensions, so we're going to go ahead and just add both. Right? And now we're going to reorder it because it's teams based. I use Browns and Steelers because Browns are my team and Steelers are our mortal enemies. So we see cap expense. Now if we expand this again, right, we see travel expense, food expenses, and that detailed consulting revenue is capital. Right? Same for the other elements. So we can see, okay, what our true net income is across the board and move forward from that. So this is our data. Now, in a typical scenario, you wouldn't have a full 12 months of actuals, but here we do. So one way is that I can go ahead and see the forecast, right? See the forecast with only up until June, right? So how would I do that? So there's two methodologies. One is version management, right? Version management copies, you can do it with filters. So let me go ahead and get that. So if I click on the table, right, then you can look up and say, okay, some screens will show it visibly automatically. Some you have to click three dots on tools and go to version management. On the right hand side, it's going to show you, okay, here's what's active, right? But realistically, I want to see I want to see everything. So it's just actual, right? So I need to add myself a public version. So I'm going to name this forecast, right? Planning, this is just more of a detail for yourself, but I'm going to make that the same. Click create. Great. So now I want to go ahead and I want to say I did this on purpose, right? Because this is great, but now for me to move data into this, because I chose this methodology, I have to create a data action, which I'll show you as well. I just want to do it in two separate formats. So I want to copy it into forecast. I'm going to lower the name. And I'm going to call this. So ultimately it's going to be 6 plus 6. And copy based on filters. Beyond that, to copy everything. Copying based on date. Because what I truly want is up until period 6 only. So, go ahead and I'll do that. Now, as you can see, it shows me a warning saying, okay, there's data out there just because unbooked is not on currently. So we're going to go ahead in this table and take that off. So I just want to see what's all applied here. Okay, perfect. So now let's get out of version management. Right, so right now there's private version there, but you're not positive that that's what you want to publish as yet. Right, you see the data up until June, that's exactly what you desired. So if you're content with what this is, you click on 3 dots, you can see the history of what happened, right? There isn't copy to a private version, right? Simple. But now, if you want to say, okay, fine, let's publish. I want to publish, right? Not publish as. So if I publish as, it doesn't take your name, unfortunately. So you would rewrite this. See, and I did that incorrectly, so I'm going to rename. I want to delete that, which I can. But you notice, if I deleted it, it takes it out of the private versions as well. So it's fine. But you saw that it did go into the public version itself. So now if I wanted to create a data action to do my functionality for me, I can. Right? Because in the process of these, you're realistically going to be doing this. Because you want the user or the admin to do one single activity to go from, oh, I have my actuals loaded from S4, Datasphere, Snowflake, or any other system into the system. Now I want to see or copy actuals into the forecast so that they can move on to forecast the remaining months. So by creating this data action, you click on data action, right? And what are we doing? We're copying versions. We're doing this in our demonstration model, and we're going to click save. What you can do is go back into your data action and write and click on the advanced mode into the formula and write out that what I want to do. I want to go in, I want to go through 2025 1 through 6. I would like to go into my data into my target version, and I want to copy all of actuals in my result lookup functionality. So with this saved, I can go back into my story. This table is already set up to be to look for a forecast. So I'm going to click copy versions. It defaults to a forecast because I just used it. And we can see now it's completed. Our copy is there. We have do not publish, but now we're going to go ahead and go click publish. That will write this data to forecast. Excellent. So now, to be in a very simple manner, without applying filters, without applying anything else, we're going to first make this as such to say that we're going to have actuals from 2025 1 to 6, then 7 onward is planning. So I'm going to put a date filter down below. Otherwise, you would put this typically in your actual story on top or on the side, wherever you may need. But in this scenario, we're not doing such. So let's go ahead and expand this to show on book data, right? Because we really want to see the rest, right? So for example purposes, I'm going to remove this data action. I'm going to expand this layer so you see everything. Perfect. I'm going to get rid of this pane. Now, you might wonder, well, I'm double clicking here. Why can I edit this value? Right? And it took it. But why can you do that? Well, if you want your users to really block that off, there's a format called data logging. Now, data logging is something a little bit different. So let me go ahead and revert this data. It's going to go back to where it was. And here, we're going to go back into our model, go under data, and data logs is not enabled. Right? So therefore, we're going to go under data, general, model preferences, and say, okay, why is this not enabled? Data logging is not enabled, so we're going to go ahead and click this. And then we're not using any of the others. We can scroll down. And we're not applying security. So we're not touching any of these components. We'll click OK. And we'll click Save. Now data logging is there. So if you don't want people to edit your actuals, then you come back into data logs. configure this. Since we're being very specific, version and date is kind of where we're at. We want to be specific in terms of what we're touching upon at the moment. So we're doing this, and then the rest we're leaving open. So we're going to show the grid for just these components because it's going to make it simpler on us. We're going to go ahead and lock this, and then we're done. So once this is completed, now this is locked down. So I'm going to go back into my story. I'm going to click refresh. Bear with me for a moment. Let me save this. I'm saving the story. I'm going to go ahead and refresh it. So now the data loss has taken effect. So if you don't see data loss take effect, go ahead and refresh your story or the URL so that it can take this component. So now I'll double click, can't get into it. I double click in July, I can enter a value, right? So that's ideal because that's exactly what I want. Now if you see the spread, right? That is an equal, since the values, no values existed here previously, it's going to equally spread my value up above, down below, right? If I put a 0, it's going to zero out. But that's how proportional spreading is. Now, if I had values here previously, say I had minus 20, I had, where was it? If I had minus 200, if I had, let's go down to here, consulting revenue was 80,000 because it was great. Oh, I did that too fast. Okay, excellent. Right, so we have that for the browns. So we're content, right? If I decided this C and E is not aggregating the values, so I'm going to remove that. Okay, so now you see the combination of the two. If I were to come back in and say, you know what? Everything proportionally increased to 150,000. Right? What happened? This proportionally increased by that amount, from 200 to minus 75. And our revenue increased as well. So what you can see is the proportional spreads does help you. If you are trying to say what it is, if you want to say that this is times 10%, you can do that as well, right? As I see, provides you that functionality. But now that we have that, this is our forecast. Now you might say, what's going on? I can't really tell. Like, what's an editable cell? Okay. That's fine. So if a user comes in, you want to see what it is automatically. So the quickest way to get that accomplished is to click on the table, click on styling, and once you do that, you see color fill for editable cells. So, okay, you want to say, oh, I want it to stand out, right? You can do that. So now they instantly know that this is actuals, and this is where they can edit. You can save it, so if a new user does come in, they can click that. Now, going back to what I mentioned a little bit earlier with private versions. Now, once I do this, right, 25,000, right, just so it goes into edit mode. Perfect. You also know it goes in edit mode because you see that's the asterisk. So now I'm going to say, okay, I'm not going to go here. I want to go back into version management. Right? It says this with that, but it doesn't really, it's not saying like what's going on. Right? So I would say I can publish it. I can copy it. I can do a lot of those things. So now where we're at is part of that forecast seeding process, right? So now we have actuals. It's in our forecast, or rolling forecast. Perfect. So now we can allow planning to begin. Great. So planning begins. They enter their values across the board, right? Whatever the case may be. Now, they decide, okay, I'm complete. I'm ready to go. Right, this is it. They can go ahead and click publish. In doing so, that is now available for all of their colleagues to see. And they can ready to move forward for their submission to their managers or to whoever they need to do that to. But that at a base level takes you from end to end of getting your actuals copied into your forecast from an easy data action, right, that I showed below, or I showed just earlier. And that allows you to do everything you need to do for a very basic process. If more needs to be completed, that can be done as well. Calculations from your actuals, trending of your actuals, or taking averages based on that, can all be done to give you a baseline for all of your forecast periods. That is a more complex design and takes a little more time to show, so I cannot do it at this time. However, this should give you a basic nature of how to go end to end, right? And what that actually means. Why does a rolling forecast help you? Rolling forecast helps you because as you do this, you can save off your versions. And then you can develop a report so you can compare those versions. Was my forecast period actual versus actuals on point? Did I miss? What was my variance on how much I missed? What didn't I account for? Stuff you need to do at the company level to make better decisions. So I hope this was helpful. If you have questions, the email is provided. I will bring that up one more time just in case you need to do so. And thank you for joining.